Controversy continues over the agreement between UW-Milwaukee administrators and pro-Palestinian protesters after the school's chancellor offered an apology this week. CBS 58's Emilee Fannon, WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross have the details in this week's Capital Connection.
This week, we begin with the fallout that is still happening on the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee campus when it comes to campus-related protests. Now, it comes after UWM's Chancellor Mark Money issued an apology Tuesday after Jewish groups and UW System President Jay Rothman condemned a deal that he struck with pro-Palestinian protesters about the encampments that were happening on campus. And this comes after last week, a Jewish group said that they didn't really like the apology because they said they didn't address anti-Semitic incidents that were happening on campus, and they said the agreement with protesters was offensive and dangerous.
And also the pro-Palestinian protesters pushed back against the apology, essentially saying they weren't happy about it either. So what I'm watching for, big picture, is does this affect his status as the chancellor? Does he get in any trouble with the administration? So to critics, there's been a pattern of things with him that they've been unhappy about with his leadership style. They serve at will as chancellors. What I'm watching for is the Board of Regents. Will it be basically a personnel type meeting called to discuss his status as chancellor? I'm not predicting that at all, but that's what you watch for if there's some kind of next step in this whole process with the administration.
All right, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is the future of rail expansion here in Wisconsin after a big project actually just launched for the first time in 22 years, connecting three major cities. We're talking about Chicago, Milwaukee, and the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Now, this project marks the first significant rail expansion in Wisconsin in 22 years. So yes, that is something we want to talk about. We also want to get into a little bit of the politics about rail expansion in the state and why it's always taking so long to happen here. So officials at the Department of Transportation touted this project that happened and launched on Tuesday as kind of a pathway to future rail expansion. And the one that is a big talker is connecting Madison and Milwaukee. Well, in order for that to happen, yes, there are federal funds that they can use, but eventually it is very, very likely going to require buy-in from the GOP-controlled legislature. And we know right now GOP leaders, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and Senate Majority Leader Emilee don't want to expand rail because they don't want to be subsidizing the project in the next 20, 30, 40 years down the line.
Now, with the new maps we have, there could be a change in the legislature. It could go from Republican control to Democratic control. Let's, for now, say it's in Republican hands. Let's say it's going to stay at least partly that way for the near future. There is not an appetite among Republican lawmakers to subsidize rail in Wisconsin. We had this debate 14 years ago, roughly, about a proposed high-speed rail line between Madison and Milwaukee. Was supposed to be the springboard to go from Madison, then to the Twin Cities. Didn't happen. Republicans don't like the idea of the subsidy, also arguing, look, you can drive from Milwaukee to Madison half the time faster than you can take a train. So they also say you can drive from Milwaukee to Minneapolis faster than trains sometimes. So they're not looking for a way to spend more tax dollars on that. They want to expand highways. They want to look at that as their transportation future, not rail in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge to sell it here in this building. All right, now our look-ahead topic is speaking of Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, because organizers of the recall effort seeking to remove him here at the state legislature, well, they say they're going to have enough signatures when the filing deadline comes on Tuesday. That is a big if, given this is their second attempt after their first failed attempt, because there was a little confusion over which signatures to collect in his new district or his old district. So we'll be paying attention to that and see what happens on Tuesday.
So big question one, the organizers are going to collect signatures from the 63rd Assembly District. That's the one that Vos is elected to in 2022. He now lives in the 33rd. We're in kind of no man's land. The State Elections Commission has not said which map's in place right now. The state Supreme Court declined to say which map was in place. And when the first bit of petitions was denied about a month ago or so, the commission said, look, we're not going to answer where should we be going. So, okay, they went to 63rd. Is that the right district? A court may have to decide that. So that could delay everything. Let's say, though, for right now, that's the right seat. They have to have 6,850 valid signatures. If they collect those, then we trigger off this set of deadlines for responses from Vos and from the petitioners. The Election Commission to act end of June. We then get this possibility of a recall election happening just before the primary, at least, just before the regularly scheduled August primary. Would not be great for clerks to have to do that back to back. Also raises the question, why, if you're a recall organizer, why not just challenge Vos in the normal election? They keep saying they want Vos gone now. he's an impediment to election integrity, that if they wait for the election, he'll be in office till January. The reality is in the Capitol, nothing is going to change with Robin Vos if he's gone from the dynamic of Megan Wolf's Elections Commission Administrator in Wisconsin. She's going to be there for the near future. There's a court case in Dane County that's preventing Republicans from removing her. That's not going to change, but they're still adamant about trying to remove him. I will predict this, though, if they collect enough signatures, if the commission says these are valid, I will bet you there'll be a legal challenge that says that's the wrong seat to do it from, that'll push all this off indefinitely.
Right, and that also brings up your point. I mean, why not just, bring a primary opponent to him? Because they did that before with Adam Steen and came very, very close, but he's not going to run again. So that's just something to keep an eye on of what they do with these signatures down the road. All right, that will do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us.